Hello students, this is Deepak Pokhriyal once again with the remaining explanation of the fourth chapter, the rat trap from 12th English. Now we are reading this chapter and so far in two parts we have read that how there is a rat trap peddler and he goes around selling his rat traps. He does not earn enough money by selling the rat traps, so he resorts to petty thievery and begging. And he one day uh, he thought he compared this world with a rat trap. He said, like a rat trap, it offers bait for the rats. They get attracted and they are trapped in it. Similarly, this world also offers bait in form of joys and comforts, and whenever anybody is tempted by these baits and he comes to get it, then that fellow is also trapped in this big rat trap of world. And now he came to a cottage of a crofter who was a very innocent man. He told him all his secrets. He also showed him his money which he had earned by selling the milk of his cow. The money was 30 kronor, and the crofter stole that money. And to avoid being in any kind of trouble, because he had that money in his pocket, that theft, so he took the course of jungle. But he got lost, and then somehow he came to the iron mill, and when he wanted to spend the night over there, the iron master came and he mistook the peddler for his old regimental comrade, and he persuaded the com- uh, he persuaded the peddler to come with him to his house, which uh, the peddler refused. And peddler did not clear the confusion of the iron master because he wanted to get some money. He thought maybe the iron master would give him some money. But when the iron master said, come along and come to my home and be my Christmas guest, he said no. However, the iron master was a determined fellow. He did not give in so easily, and he sent his daughter to persuade the peddler to come to his home. Now we'll start reading from there. So it's page number 38 of your book. The second paragraph will start from. So she came, she took that hat off his eyes. He had put his hat over his eyes and he was sleeping. So the peddler woke up, and it's after that. My name is Edla Wilmanson, said the young girl. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge tonight, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I'm so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time. She said this. She is very intelligent lady because she is not saying that my father sent me to take you home. Rather, she is saying that she came to take him home willingly on her own. She looked at him compassionately with her heavy eyes, and then she noticed that the man was afraid. Either he has stolen something, or else he has escaped from jail, she thought, and added quickly, you may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve. Now, this was very important here. The lady, Elizabeth, the daughter, she recognized that this man is surely not the captain. He is rather a man who is running from the authorities. And to assure him, because such people they are suspicious of everything. So she assured him that okay, you come to our home and you will not face any trouble. She said this in such a friendly manner that the rat trap peddler must have felt confidence in her. It would never have occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself, miss. He said, I will come at once. He accepted the fur coat which the valet handed him with a deep bow. threw it over his rags, and followed the young lady out to the carriage without granting the astonished blacksmiths so much as a glance. Now, blacksmith, he must be astonished that he is an important fellow. He is friends to the owner. Now, valet, as I told earlier, it's a male servant. Male servant is called valet. But while he was riding up to the manor house, he had evil forebodings. Now, forebodings means when you are sensing that something bad is going to happen with you in future. Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? He thought. Now I am sitting in the trap and will never get out of it. The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his own regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. Now, one thing you will see here, you have to see as we read along, you will see the difference between uh, the generosity of the Iron Master and the generosity. You have to make this difference between the generosity of the Iron Master and that of his daughter. Iron Master is showing generosity, kindness, love to an old regimental comrade. And as soon as he would know that, okay, he is not the fellow whom he thought he was, he would become angry and he would be ready to hand him over to police, to the authorities. But the Iron Master's daughter is a selfless person. She is not selfish while showing a generosity to someone. Um, and even after knowing that the Rattrap peddler is not the person whom the father thought he was, she would continue showing her compassion and generosity and love to this man. And this would change the Rattrap peddler's attitude. It would change the person completely. The next day was Christmas Eve, and when the ironmaster came into the dining room for breakfast, he probably thought with satisfaction of his old regimental comrade whom he had run across so unexpectedly. First of all, we must see to it that he gets a little flesh on his bones, he said to his daughter, who was busy at the table. And then we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling rat traps. It is it is queer that things have gone downhill with him as badly as that, said the daughter. Last night I did not think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man. The daughter is saying this. She is raising her concern, but the father will clear her concern that he was really an educated man. You must have patience, my little girl, said the father. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. Last night he was naturally embarrassed. The tramp manners will fall away from him with the tramp clothes. Just as Just as he said this, the door opened and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly clean and well dressed. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. Moreover, he was dressed in a good looking suit of clothes which belonged to the ironmaster. He wore a white shirt and a starched collar and whole shoes. Now, it was very easy for the Iron Master to know. It was a broad daylight, he was bathed, shaved, so it was very easy for the Iron Master to know that he was not the old regimental comrade as he thought he was. But although his guest was now so well groomed, the Iron Master did not seem pleased. He looked at him with puckered brow, like um, uh, we press our brows together when we are looking at something very, very with a great focus. So puckered brow with big eyes. Huh? And it was easy to understand that when he had seen the strange fellow in the uncertain reflection from the furnace, he might have made a mistake, but that now, when he stood there in broad daylight, it was impossible to mistake him for an old acquaintance. Uncertain reflection, not very bright light of the furnace. And now it was broad daylight. Acquaintance means someone you know. So Iron Master knew that it was that the rat trap peddler was a stranger, an utter stranger for him. What does this mean? He thundered. The stranger made no attempt to dissimulate. He saw at once that the splendor had come to an end. Splendor, that good treatment, that welcome he was enjoying, that has come to an end. Dissimulate means try to deceive someone. So the red trap peddler did not try to deceive. He did not try to establish that yes, he was a good fellow. No, it is not my fault, sir, he said. I never pretended to be anything but a poor trader, and I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge. But no harm has been done. At worst, I can put on my rags again and go away. Well, said the iron master, hesitating a little, it was not quite honest either. You must admit that, and I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in the matter. Now, sheriff is a person who is responsible for establishing law. So Iron Master said that I might call that person who is responsible for establishing law, and he would put you in jail. This made the vagabond very angry. The tramp took a step forward and struck the table with his fist. Now I am going to tell you, Mr. Iron Master, how things are, he said. This whole world is nothing but a big rat trap. This is his philosophy. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds and bits of pork set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes now and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Iron Master, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the trap. The Iron Master began to laugh. This was all very funny for him. That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve, but now get out of here as fast as you can. But just now, Edla, the Iron Master's daughter, will come into play and she will stop Vagabond from leaving the house. But just as the man was opening the door, the daughter said, I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go. And with that, she went and closed the door. What in the world are you doing? Said the father. The daughter stood there quite embarrassed and hardly knew what to answer. That morning she had felt so happy when she thought how home-like and Christmassy she was going to make things for the poor hungry wretch. She could not get away from the idea all at once, and that was why she had interceded for the vagabond. Interceded. She is speaking for the vagabond. I am I am thinking of this stranger here, said the young girl. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcomed and can feel at home. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. Always he is afraid of being arrested and cross-examined. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace with us here. Just one in the whole year. The Iron Master mumbled something in his beard. He could not bring himself to oppose her. It was all a mistake, of course, she continued. But anyway, I don't think we ought to chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here and to whom we have promised Christmas cheer. You do preach worse than a parson, said the ironmaster. Um, Parsons, they are in a church and they preach good things to people. So, this is what Ironmaster's response. I only hope you won't have to regret this. Okay, by saying this in a way, the Ironmaster gave his permission. The young girl took the stranger by the hand and led him up to the table. Now sit down and eat, she said, for she could see that her father had given in. The man with the rat trap said not a word, he only sat down and helped himself to the food. Time after time, he looked at the young girl who had interceded for him. Why had she done it? What could be what could be the crazy idea be? What could the crazy idea be? After that, Christmas Eve at Ramsjo passed just as it always had. The stranger did not cause any trouble because he did nothing but sleep. The whole afternoon he lay on the sofa in one of the guest rooms and slept at one stretch. At noon they woke him up so that he could have his share of the good Christmas fare, but after that he slept again. It seemed as though for many years he had not been able to sleep as quietly and safely as here at Ramsjo. In the evening, when the Christmas tree was lighted, they woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking as though the candlelight hurt him. But after that he disappeared again. 2 hours later he was aroused once more. He then had to go down into the dining room and eat the Christmas fish and porridge. As soon as they got up from the table, he went around to each one present and said thank you and good night. But when he came to the young girl, she gave him to understand that it was her father's intention that the suit which he wore was to be a Christmas present. He did not have to return it. And if he wanted to spend next Christmas Eve in a place where he could rest in peace and be sure that no evil would befall him, he would be welcomed back again. So, see, this is the generosity, kindness of the girl, and it has already started making a change in the vagabond. He's turning into a good person. The man with the rat traps did not answer anything to this. He only stared at the young girl in boundless amazement. The next morning, the ironmaster and his daughter got up in good season to go to the early Christmas service. Their guest was still asleep, and they did not disturb him. When at about 10 o'clock they drove back from the church, the young girl sat and hung her head even more dejectedly than usual, dejectedly, sadly. So when the girl came back from the church, she was sad, and she was sad because at the church they came to know about the reality of the vagabond, and they were sorry for their act of keeping that vagabond at their home. At church, she had learned that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rat traps. Yes, that was a fine fellow you let into the house, said the father. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time. The wagon had hardly stopped at the front steps when the ironmaster asked the valet whether the stranger was still there. He added that he had heard at church that the man was a thief. The valet answered that the fellow had gone and that he had not taken anything with him at all. On the contrary, he had left behind a little package which Miss Wilmenson was to be kind enough to accept as a Christmas present. The young girl opened the package, which was so badly done up that the contents came into view at once. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rat trap, and in it lay three wrinkled 10 krone notes. But that was not all. In the rat trap lay also a letter written in large jagged characters. Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return as if I were a real captain. For I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas season by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regard, Captain Von Stally. So he is a changed man now, and he has also taken the name of the captain. Okay, the old regimental comrade of the Iron Master. So this is the story, and this story shows that how love and compassion can change a person. Thank you very much. Enjoy the story.